Okay, hi, this is Phil, everybody's grandpa. And today we're going to be working on repairing a pull coil or starter recoil on a Pull & Pro snowblower. As you can see, I pulled the cord on this and it broke off in my hand. And to make matters worse, it recoiled back into the mechanism and then the spring came loose. And this one has to be one of the type that does not have the easy open type of recoil. So it's going to be a little more complicated than the normal ones you see on the other videos on the net right now. So here's the tools we're going to be using. Take a look at these. You can see they're all simple things. I'm going to be doing this right in the back of my pickup because I want to make this so anyone can do it with the tools at hand. Normally you would use a press and some pretty expensive equipment to do this. I don't have any of that, so we're not going to use any of that. So we're just going to do this right in the back of my pickup, and here we go. Run through the steps. I'll try to make this fast. Okay, here is the motor itself, or the pull coil on the motor itself. You can see right there to the top is where the string comes in. So that's the thing you're going to have to take off. And there's 3 little 8mm screws holding that on. So we'll be pulling those off right now. Okay, just gonna get 2 of the 3 off already. Here comes the last one. And you can see it's pretty easy to remove this and then just pull the whole thing out where you can work on it. Okay, and here is the recoiler pulled out of the motor, and you can see where the string broke off. You can see this spins both ways. It doesn't twirl back anymore. On more high-end recoils, there'll be a nut right here that you just simply remove the nut, and then this all comes apart and you can get at the spring and the starter rope. But you can see the rope in this one is actually enclosed, so you can't get at it without pulling this out. This one is not made to be worked on by yourself or by an average person. At the parts or the small engine shop, they told me, yeah, they just have to replace these. You can't, there's no service on them. We're going to try and do it anyway because it's on a back order for over 2 weeks and it's snowing today. So I need to get it going. So I'm going to try and repair this myself. Okay, now to remove this, what we're going to do, as you can see, it's pushed in that way and then it's flared on this end. So what I'm going to do is take this. They normally use a press to press that out. I don't have one of those, so I'm going to just use an extension off a socket. Give a couple whacks to pound it down right there. Now you can see I've got it down that far. Now to get it the rest of the way, I'm going to put a couple of pieces of 2x4 in here, just so that this doesn't bang on the surface of the truck bed and work against me. Now I've gotten this down as far as I can push it with this tool. So now I've got a screwdriver that's just slightly big enough to fit in the hole, but not too big that it'll bend it out, or too small that it'll just simply go through the hole. And now I'm just put a couple whacks with that with my hammer. There we go. Oh, I guess we're gonna need one more. Okay, now I need just a little more height, so I'm going to turn this like that. So now I've got plenty of clearance underneath here. Put my screwdriver back in. There we go. Now we knocked it out. Now you can see the parts. Here is the inside of the cover. There's where the rope coils up. Here's the spring in here, which is, you can see, has come loose. And then here's the little ears or little dogs that catch the motor and actually start it. When this piece is on here like this and you pull, see how those come out? That's what engages the starter, and then once the motor starts, they go in so that this becomes out of the equation and no longer is touching the motor. So that's the basic parts there. What we're going to do is get rid of this string, and we will put a new string in there, which is pretty simple. You can burn the end of this if you want, to kind of make a nicer end to work with. You'll see that on tons of videos, so I'm not going to bother showing you that right now. And besides that, I don't need that for what I'm doing here. This got a pretty good end on it already. And then you just tie a simple quick knot, pull it nice and tight, and that end is done. Now, we got to look at, make sure we wind this the proper direction. This will be installed like this, and you can see the cord comes down like that and it's got to go up, so we're going to go around this way. Now I measured the rope that came on this one when I took it off. It was 6 feet long. Now, I went to my local hardware store and I bought 9 feet. The reason I have a little extra on here is because you're going to want to have it a little bit more to take some extra wind out of it when you get to the end, to just make sure you got enough, to make it tight. So that's a long-winded explanation, but basically just get a couple extra feet of rope on there. You can cut it off, when we're done at the end. Now, we got the rope put on there like this, and then we put this, well, here, let's take a couple seconds and look at the spring problem. We got to deal with that too. Now we got the rope under control. Now the spring is under this cover. Now you can easily pry this off with a screwdriver if you need to. I'm just going to make a little better work surface here. Actually, I don't need those any longer. So we put that now. If your spring is right here like mine is, you can just use this, but just to demonstrate, I'm going to take it off and show you what you've been working with in here. Now this is very careful. This is a coiled spring. Now your spring may have come loose and may be all untangled here. All you have to do is hook this one onto the other and then slowly wrap it around in there. It's a hassle. It takes about 20 minutes. So plan yourself a half hour and you'll be fine with it. But you want it to end up looking like this. And this is the key thing right here, is you got to have a little hook on the end, and the hook has got to be somewhere in this area where you can see it with this cover in place. And the reason that's important, that's one of the most critical things, is on the wheel here. We put that on, hopefully you can see this. There's a little space, a little gap in the collar. That gap hooks that hook, and that's what holds the two together. And then just having constant tension on there is what makes it stay in place. That's why we did the extra string. So now that we've gotten that done, we take our string, which kind of unwound a little bit here while we were talking about it. Put that through the hole of the opening in the housing, just like that. Now, this is where it gets tricky. You want to look and see where that little hook is right there in that spring, because that's what you have to hook that onto this. This is the whole trick of this whole procedure. If you can line up this, which I'm going to put right here, which is right about where there's a little YA mark here that I'm going to use that as a reference point. I'm going to set this at 12 o'clock so I can easily find where that's supposed to go. And now I'm going to put this back through the hole. Again, it came out on me, so we'll put it back in. There we go. And wind this. Having the extra string is a little bit of a bother because it seems to always want to fight you. But there. Now, we had the YA right here, which was set up with that hook. And I'm going to try and set that hook either right on that or a little bit clockwise of that so I can turn it into position once it gets on there. And then you got to make sure the string lines up in the middle too, because the string will want to go either on top or on bottom of this, and you can't let that happen. There we go. Now we got it on there. And there, we hooked, I can feel by the tension. There's tension here that it wants to go back, so I've got the hook on the spring where I want it to be. So now I'm going to just pull out, 6 or 8 inches and put a clamp on there just to hold that. Now what I like to do is just take this and just kind of tie it off to something or get it somehow so that it doesn't come loose. Because if that comes loose, you got to start all over, and everything you've done to this point is lost. So tie it off so you don't lose that during the next part of the procedure. Now we got to put this back together. So now as we put that together, we have this and we have this. And okay, now as I've gathered up all the parts that came out of this, see there's this, it has little tabs right there. Those are important for engaging the ears here that pop out. They have to go in these two areas right here, right beside the arms of those little ears sticking out. There's 2 washers and a spring that are in this, as well as the stud that we pounded out. So it goes like that. Put the first washer in, and then you put the spring, goes next. I'm gonna put it over that. Put that in there like that. Now, the critical thing here is line it up so these 2 little tabs are in those areas, and then you can check it by just turning it and see if those little tabs pop out like that. Hopefully you can see that. Then I know I have that in correctly. Now, to pound this back in, I'm going to use the other end of that same socket we used earlier, or socket extension. Because it just happens to fit pretty good in that hole. So now, then we'll look at this side. And it's good to note, if you would have noticed on the beginning, I should have told you to take note on the beginning of how far that's in there. Because you want to know that, because you want to pound it back to roughly the same spot where you found it. Okay, and now the thing is back together, and you can see it works like it ought to. Now we're just going to put it back on here, put the three screws, the 8mm screws on there, and we'll be back in business in just a minute here. Okay, there's not a real easy way to show this, so I'm just going to put that into place, and oops, right like that, making sure that this, I still have my pliers on there holding that, and that is pointing up towards the hole in the top of the machine where that came out of. So I'll be lining that up and putting in the 3 screws right now. Okay, as you can see, I've attached those 3 screws back on. I still have the clamp down here below that we put on before. I'm going to take that off right now. And I've tied the string to here just to give us something to keep track of, because you cannot let the tension come off this string, or you have to start all over with everything you've done so far. So now to get the handle on is pretty easy, just the same thing we did before. You push this through the hole like that, and then just pull it. Now make sure you keep the tension on this the whole time. And now remember, we had like 2 or 3 extra feet on this when we did it. Now I'm going to do that right, take those out right now. And the reason we do that is you want to have it tight so that this stays up. If you don't have enough, this will fall over and it won't stay secure, and it also is highly likely to unwind on you when you're using it as it springs back, because that spring tension on that little hook that we saw earlier is lost. Okay, now it's just a matter of cutting off this excess right here, and we just take our utility knife and give that a cut. There we go, and it is back in business, and now we should be ready to go. We're going to give it a try. Okay, now we're going to give it a try. We primed it. And there you have it. So that's it for this project. If you liked it, please click the like button, and also please subscribe to my channel. I'm just getting started, so I have no subscribers. But if you want projects done with ordinary tools and equipment around your house without having to purchase or rent expensive tools, please subscribe to this channel. I'll have a lot more for you. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. I'm happy to review each one of them, and I'll get back to you with any questions. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.